Hartalega Holdings posted its first ever quarterly net loss in the fourth quarter ended March 31st, 2022, mainly due to the provisions of Cukai Makmur. Hartalega recorded a net loss of 197.9 million for the fourth quarter of FY22, compared with a net profit of 1.12 billion posted in the previous year's corresponding quarter. Revenue for the quarter plunged by 58% to 968.7 million from 2.3 billion a year ago, as average selling prices continued to normalize. The glovemaker declared a third interim dividend of 3.5 cents per share. For its full-year report card, Hartalega saw its net profit improve by 12% to 3.2 billion, while top line grew by 18% year-on-year to 7.89 billion from 6.7 billion ringgit. In a statement, CEO Kwan Moon Leong said that despite both ASPs and demand normalizing, it expects prospects to remain, even as the country enters the endemic phase. Kwan says in the longer term, the structural organic step up in the global demand for gloves bodes well for Hartalega in light of increased glove usage from emerging markets with low glove consumption base, complemented by increased awareness of hygiene. He says to meet this demand growth, the group continues to progress in its capacity expansion via its next generation integrated glove manufacturing complex. However, Kwan says Hartalega continues to face external pressures, including the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, the new wave of COVID-19 cases in China that are expected to have an impact on the already strained global supply chain. Also, the recent implementation of the new minimum wage policy in Malaysia is likely to hike up operating costs. Kwan says amidst this challenging backdrop, the group will focus on cost optimization, continuous efficiency improvement and automation initiatives across its operations. The federal court today granted leave for former PM Datuk Seri Najib Razak and his son Datuk Nazifuddin Najib to challenge a summary judgment entered against them to pay 1.69 billion and 37.64 million to the Inland Revenue Board. The matter will be heard on its full merits, a three-member bench led by Chief Justice Tun Tunku Maimun Tuan Mat decided. The bench took only 3 minutes of recess after hearing submissions before unanimously granting leave for the 9 questions of law posed by the duo. The leave questions were also supported by the Malaysian Bar, despite opposition from the IRB. The Apex Court will fix a date to hear the full merits of the appeal. Meanwhile, at the 1MDB Tanore trial, auditor KPMG was intimidated into signing off the long-delayed 2013 financial statements of 1MDB by the ex-PM, according to managing partner Datuk Johan Idris. In his testimony, Johan referred to a meeting on the night of December 15, 2013 with Najib over the $2.3 billion in investments made through Brazen Sky in an unknown fund called Bridge Global. When lead prosecutor Datuk Sri Gopal Sri Ram asked if there had been any pressure exerted by Najib during the meeting, Johan put it as intimidation for KPMG to conclude and sign the audit statements March 31st, 2013. Airasia will provide feedback on consumer issues, including those related to flight delays and rescheduling, to the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs within 24 hours, Bernama reports. Minister Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalinggi said after compiling consumers' grievances and complaints about the issue of Airasia flight delays, the ministry had made a preliminary study and contacted the airline's management for feedback. He says among the issues revolving around the interests of consumers highlighted in the initial engagement with Airasia are flight delays, review of flight schedules of up to more than 6 hours, as well as consumers' eligibility for compensation in the event of flight delays. On his official Twitter account, Nanta said that he had asked Airasia to provide a flowchart on the process of filing a formal complaint for compensation subject to the guidelines set by the Malaysian Aviation Commission. He says although the aviation industry is under the purview of the Ministry of Transport, he says that his ministry will intervene if consumer rights are concerned. Nanta tweeted on Monday that the ministry would conduct an investigation over the issue of delays and flight rescheduling involving Airasia following grievances and complaints that have been going on for a number of weeks. Selling pressure on Saba Dynamics Holdings continued on Tuesday, with its share price tumbling as much as 4.5 cent or 41% to 6.5 cent in early trade. The counter managed to claw back some ground as the day progressed, but still closed 32% lower at 7.5 cent. It remained Bursa Malaysia's most actively traded stock, with over 397 million shares changing hands. Saba Dynamics counter has seen a dramatic few days when trading of its securities resumed on Monday after being suspended since October last year. During its heyday, Saba Dynamics share price had peaked at RM1.61 last year before its audit issues with former auditor KPMG and regulators caused the counter to plunge. It should be noted that on Monday, Affin Huang IB and Kenanga IB had demanded cash upfront for purchase of Saba Dynamics securities, given the uncertainties that remain about the company's prospects. Last month, Saba Dynamics said that it is looking into formulating a plan to regularize its financial condition, and the company has approximately 9 months to submit its regularization plan to the relevant authorities for approval. The beleaguered oil and gas company has also been fighting a legal battle on several fronts over the past few months with regulators, the Securities Commission and Bursa Malaysia Securities, as well as KPMG. Malaysia's number of employed persons rose to a record high of 15.77 million in March 2022 from 15.73 million recorded for the month of February. In March 2021, that number had been 15.33 million. This as more people got employed in the services, manufacturing and construction sectors in line with the country's COVID-19 vaccine-driven resumption of economic activities, according to the Department of Statistics Malaysia and economists. In a statement, the DOSM said that the number of employed persons in the services sector remain in an upward trend, mainly in the wholesale and retail trade, food and beverage, besides human health and social work segments. However, employment in agriculture and mining and quarrying sectors remained on a negative trend. Looking ahead, the DOSM said Malaysia's economy and labour market will expand further in the coming months as more positive signs of the economy are indicated. For March 2022, the DOSM said the country's unemployment rate, however, remained at 4.1%. Economists are, however, optimistic about Malaysia's labour market recovery. UOB economists Julia Goh and Lok Siu Teng wrote in a note that given how the labour market has improved for 8 straight months, this reinforces the expectations of a sustained recovery through 2022. However, given the current uncertainty surrounding geopolitical tensions, new coronavirus variants and intensified business costs suggest that a full labour market recovery to pre-pandemic levels is unlikely to happen for now. MIDF Amana IB economists also expects the labour market to stay in steady recovery, while the reopening of international borders will push higher operating capacity in sectors such as aviation and tourism, among others. Also, as an oil exporting economy, Malaysia is set to benefit from the soaring global commodity prices, particularly for palm oil and oil and gas sectors.